What do you mean it got an F? Hey, what's up, Crypto Army? I'm Travis, your crypto newbie, bringing you my experiences so you don't have to learn things the hard way. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, and none of my content should be viewed as financial advice. If you like what my content offers, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and turn on notifications so you get notified whenever I post new content. It really helps the channel grow and get the content out to others that might also like it. Now, a quick ad before we kick into the content for today. Crypto newbie here to tell you how you can get $2,340 in free stocks. All the links I use in this video are in the description. Sign up for Webull and get 2 free stocks valued up to $2,300. Your first stock is free automatically. Deposit any amount and you get your second stock. Deposit 1 penny and you get your second stock. Total value could be up to $2,300. Generally $5 per stock is what you get. Next we have block fee. Get $10 in Bitcoin just for signing up. But read the fine print. I've got a rewards account. You'll get $40 in Bitcoin, as will I. So you know exactly what I'm going to get and what you're going to get. You do need to deposit $100 to get your $40 in Bitcoin. That's the overview how to get $2,340 just by signing up for accounts. So today we're going to take a look at KleeKai. This token launched back in May. I actually did look at it around June or July timeframe, but there's a bunch of Inu based tokens that came out around the same time. Now this one doesn't have the Inu in the name, but it's very similar. It's a dog meme based token. One of the ones I reviewed at the time was Sanshu Inu, which is also on the ERC20 Ethereum network. And in that particular case, it ended up losing a bunch of money. It got hacked essentially. So at the time I was more hesitant to invest in projects quite like this one because they were coming out so many of them so frequently. But I had looked at this one in the past and its numbers actually did get a little bit better. But we'll talk about some of the things as we get there. Interestingly, this one was requested by a subscriber and hopefully that subscriber will enjoy this content. So first up, as I mentioned, it's on the ERC20 network, so it's an Ethereum-based token, and by now everybody should be thinking high gas, and that should be the first consideration every time you hear Ethereum-based. It's also 100 quadrillion tokens. Now, I've talked about Shiba Inu and I've talked about SafeMoon. Those are both 1 quadrillion tokens. This one has 100 times more tokens than that one did. That's a lot of tokens. So that's definitely something you should consider when looking at KleeKai is, what is the practicality of a 100 quadrillion token? Is it practical? What about a quintillion? Because there are quintillion ones out there. At some point, we're going to have to figure out how many tokens is too many. In theory, yes. It does have a deflationary mechanism built in through reflections that you are going to generate rewards with. So it eventually will get down to more reasonable numbers, but in decades, it may get down there, depending on what the volume over time happens to be for this token. But that's something to consider when you're looking at tokens like this is 100 quadrillion tokens. What does that mean in the long term of that particular project? Now, KleeKai was a fair launch token. All of the development team bought in their shares. It's rug pull proof because they burned 100% of the liquidity at launch, so you can't rug pull this particular token. There's no indications of it having any kind of honeypots. It's still vulnerable to potentially getting hacked. So just like every other fundamental analysis that I start with, I'm going to take a look at the team, the use case, the white paper, the roadmap for this particular token, and then we'll dig into some of the specifics for each of those areas as we go through, and we'll finish it up by reviewing the Excel just to see where everything landed. And just a reminder, this is what that Excel looks like when we get there. So this website is very similar to some of the other websites that are out there. You can click on the navigator to navigate the website. It stays at the top of the screen, making it very convenient and easy to access. Interesting thing for yesterday when I was going through this website is these weren't quite working. It might have just been the computer that I was accessing this, but initially I clicked on these buttons and it was taking me to different places, so the links weren't quite getting me to where I needed to be on the page. Today they are working, so we'll have to adjust that score when we get there. All right, so back at the top here, we've got a game right off the bat. Now for their game, we can actually scroll down a little bit further and then we can actually see the game video demo that they've got on here. And you can see how many people have played and how many different sessions. And let's watch the video. Well, I gotta say, they've got good video editing skills. I wish I had those kinds of skills that would make this a lot easier. But the video looks good. It looks like they've at least got a good team of video editors. I'm not sure that necessarily speaks for the token, but they went the extra mile to produce an actually pretty good video. And you can also see a similar video on Twitter, and there's a few people I think on YouTube that I saw also have some examples of gameplay on there as well. But it's a very similar game to what you can get on Android or on an app store game that you play when you're waiting in the doctor's office or in the back of the car or something. But what's interesting with their game is you earn tokens through playtime. Now keep in mind, there's a 1.5 trillion token requirement in order to play the game. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But right now, at the time of making this video, that's approximately $550 just to get the 1.5. That's not including the fees and associated costs of gas. So you're probably looking closer to $600 just to be able to play the game. Now keep that in mind when we start going through some other products on this website. So let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit. So again, their team, no names. I guess Paul. I don't think that these are real names. Klee Dev, pretty sure that doesn't match the driver's license for that person. Same thing with these other names. I'd look them up just to make sure, just to be 100% sure. And yeah, that's not the team. And there's no pictures, so they're not doxed. And for my assessment, that always counts significantly against the token in question. There's 100 quadrillion, as I mentioned earlier, 2% in reflections. And then this is their actual symbol if you're trying to find them. They have a good roadmap, and they've indicated that they've got things done on the roadmap, which is always good. They've got their Klee swap done, their decentralized exchange. We saw that. It's definitely there. They definitely have 1,000 holders, and we'll cover that when we get the CoinMarketCap. I don't look at Telegram. That's not something I go look at because it's just like having a WhatsApp chat. It is really the equivalent, in my opinion. It's not a lot of value added. It's not the same as having, say, a Discord server. So I don't go look at Telegram. And by and large, when you're on Telegram, it's just a bunch of FUD, complaining, or excessive marketing. Now you can see they've hit most of the other aspects for phase 2. They have not hit the Xerion certification, and they've already started to knock out some of their phase 3. I suspect this website is a template. I don't go looking for templates, but I've seen designs like this quite a bit, so I suspect it is probably a template website. Their goal is to have 10,000 Telegram members, and you can see the rest of the roadmap here. Most of the roadmap, as you'll notice, and this is common for new tokens, they're really focused on getting subscribers and getting holders. I mean, who wouldn't? That should be everybody's focus for a token, is to try to get more holders, because that means it's being adopted and it should be growing in strength. If you've got a good project and you advertise it and you get those influencers, the holders is kind of going to just happen. Now they do have some charity fundraising on here. They've got the game, they've got the swap that they've already identified, but what else? And I make an assumption that there's something past phase 4, which is their utility. But right now, they don't really talk too much about utility. It's more about the marketing and getting the holders. Now, they do mention they're trying to get an NFT store. Almost everybody's doing that as well. What I really look for is how are they going to differentiate themselves? What's going to be different? And we've already seen that you can get tokens by playing a game. That's different. There's not a lot of companies out there that are doing that. It's kind of the new flavor. There are people that are going into that space because they realize that it makes sense. We play video games, a lot of us play video games a lot, but I don't really see anything too unique about their roadmap. And that's pretty much it for their website. So for the white paper, it opens up in PDF. So I've already gone through and highlighted some things that stood out to me. And let's go take a look at them. The contract address is always a positive when they put that on there. Just make sure you're getting the white paper directly from the website and not from somebody sending it to you, because if they make their own, there's lots of different ways where you can exploit people that put the incorrect contract address in there and then you send the money to somebody else and not actually get tokens. That's a real thing that happens a lot. It is a meme token. They identified that their vision wasn't clear on their version 1 of their white paper. And I would agree. That's how I recall it as well. So what is their vision? Helping people in global poverty. We aim to do this through play-to-earn game KleeRun. I would suspect that they're going to plan on building other games because games eventually get old. So my recommendation to this team would be to expand this to games, plural. Maybe this is your first, of which there's more down the road. Maybe a gaming ecosystem that earns you KleeKai. Now here's the question. How much did it cost to buy in to be able to play the game? 1.5 trillion tokens, or approximately $600. Is that practical for helping people in global poverty. If they're in a impoverished country, are they going to have the money to buy 1.5 trillion tokens? I suspect probably not. And what if the price goes up? Now, prices have a tendency to swing pretty quickly in this community. I think that they need to do a better job of ensuring that their website, whatever that token number is, gets updated on a fairly regular basis. Because again, if somebody's willing to play the game or somebody's willing to buy this token, you only get one shot. They might come back again, but the odds of them coming back again are slim because they've already looked at it. They've already done the research. They're moving on to the next thing. If they find something that they don't like, they're moving on. Now, in this particular thing, for the white paper, it's play to earn, like we discussed. Now, if we scroll down a little bit further, important information is here that should be up there. The amount of Klee tokens needed is shown on our website and will be adjusted over time so that it stays affordable. The minimum requirement of tokens is needed so that the distributed awards will keep their value. So it explains why, and it explains that their website will be updated, which is relevant information at the beginning, or even maybe on the website. But I think they need to have a better understanding of what is it that we're trying to do as far as if it's somebody that's in poverty, how much can they afford to buy, hold, and then eventually earn through gameplay? And I'm just not sure that $600 or $550 after fees, you got to remember fees and everything else for Ethereum and just buying your fiat into the system. If you're using Coinbase or Trust Wallet, depending on what options are available in different countries, all of that matters. If your cost is prohibitive where they can't get in, you've excluded the people that you're trying to make your use case around. That's a problem. Now, we'll keep going down here. Here, I've highlighted this specifically to illustrate grammatical issues. Now, I'm not a huge person on grammar and spelling, even though I do ping the white paper and the roadmaps and the websites for those things. But some people are. And some people will read these things and get turned off by the grammatical or spelling errors they run into and stop. And that's why it's important. That's why it's part of my analysis, because there are people out there that are like that. And I see it all the time on SafeMoon, not necessarily on their products, but they'll post something on Twitter or they'll post something on Discord or they'll do a release of some sort, and there's grammatical and spelling errors all throughout it. And the community just goes nuts with it. Why didn't they have somebody proofread it? Why? All the different FUD that comes out of a spelling or a grammar issue. That's why I push this stuff, not because it's overly important to the project itself, but that first time that a potential investor comes to your website, you've got one shot to impress them. That's it. If you don't do it, they're very unlikely to come back again. So you've got to get it right the first time. So what's wrong here? The aim of this white paper is to give, you don't need this word, is to give to potential buyers. The aim of this white paper is to give potential buyers and holders all the information. With this white paper, comma, we don't intend in any way to create a contractual relationship. So you're just missing a comma. There's supposed to be a break there. We suggest you get all the information you need from this white paper to study them. What's them? The information. To study it. We study it and be confident. So that's why I highlighted this, because there's a couple of them right in succession to illustrate the point. And this is all minor stuff. But somebody's going to read this and say, that's a big deal to them. Somebody else is going to watch this video and say, who cares about that? And for the fundamentals of the project, is the token going to be a rug pull? Is it going to make any kind of money? Yeah, it's probably still going to make money even if you have these spelling and grammatical errors. But you're trying to get as many potential investors as possible. So if you turn off the ones that are paying attention to grammatical and spelling errors, you've lost holders. Abstract should be further up. And it should really summarize the whole project as concisely as possible. That's my recommendation. If I have to go all the way down here, I might not get there. You put the abstract in the beginning, and it clearly lays out the reward system, the gameplay, how they're going to change the prices. Everything's in one concise paragraph in the very beginning. You're more inclined to get people to keep going through the paper. If you hook them in the beginning, they'll finish it. So you got to make sure that hook gets them. So put the abstract up in front, and I would actually shorten this a little bit if you can. This isn't a bad size, but I don't think you say everything that you really need to say in this. And that's a problem, because it really should be a summary of what's to come, of the whole project in one area. And then Klee is safe, tokenomics, that they burn their liquidity, and that they have fees, the roadmap, the exact same information from their website, and that's pretty much it. That is their white paper. So here's their swap, and you'll see this is very similar to all other swaps that are out there. Looks very similar to Uniswap or PancakeSwap. Very, very common approach to doing a swap. I don't give it any extra points for originality, and I don't really look at the points that way. Is it there? Yes, it is. There's so many swaps out there that are pretty good at this point. If you're going to build more of an ecosystem, then swap's not a bad place to start, but there's no real mention of an ecosystem other than NFTs, but everybody seems to be able to build a swap. So it's not really going to stand you out. That's why I don't give a lot of points for a swap. The game I give a little bit more points because that takes a little bit more work. Now I came back to the website for a second here just to illustrate one thing. They've got an audit report by TechRate, but it's not clickable. And this is the only mention on this website to their audit. There's nothing to look at. There's no security audit here. It mentions it, do the extra mile and put it on the website. So it's mentioned as part of the roadmap, but it's not actually on the website. I'm going to deduct a couple points for that. That's not usually a lot of points, but how do I confirm the audit? How do I look at it? Now, fortunately, I did my due diligence and I went and found it. So here's their audit, and it was done by TechRate. TechRate's got a lot of audits that they've been doing on a lot of different tokens. I wish there was a website out there that kept track of every audit company out there, what they work on, and more importantly, after they've done an audit, how many of those tokens were hacked, rug pulled, or had some other issue with their token. TechRate has had that happen. Now TechRate, and I didn't mention this in the Saitama video, they did an audit on tokens that were later hacked or had a rug pull done to them. That seems relevant. There are some really good audit companies out there. Certic is one of them. I don't know that much about the individual audit companies, but people keep doing audits. How do we know that they're good at what they do? What does it mean if there isn't like a standard of some sort for how audits are conducted? I'm sure I could probably build a company and do audits. And I know nothing about doing audits, but I could probably do that. And I could hire a few people. Would it be a Certic level audit, or would it be the audit company that did Solana or Cardano? I doubt it. Those are some fascinating audits, very in-depth and detailed. TechRate, not so much. So let's scroll down. All right, so for their issues, pass. Low issues for the DOS with blocked gas limits. Now, in comparison, Saitama had one issue, and I think it was actually the same issue if I remember correctly. This one's got two. And they're low, they're not critical findings or major findings. They're just low issues on blocked gas limit. And it walks you through the security issues down here, specifically the code and the recommendations. Again, no score. So I have to give it my assessment of it. And we'll do that when we get to the actual functional analysis list. All right, let's go take a look at CoinMarketCap. So here we can see the effects of small numbers with big numbers in cash. Ups, downs, ups, downs, ups, downs. And this is just one day. If we look at their 3 month, you can see they went up pretty significantly, dropped back down. And this is actually a pretty common pattern as well. Their rebound after their consolidations actually a little bit faster than a lot of new tokens. But this is fairly standard. Usually if you see it here or you see it over here, but there's always this drop that you have right here. And we'll take a look at on the watch list. I think yesterday when I looked at this, it was 4,000 maybe that was on there. I don't recall the exact number, but a little bit smaller number. And holders, we've got 14,000. But we can already see that there's 14,000 and there's still 7,000 people that are watching it, of which some of these 14,000 are probably the same people. I usually like seeing a higher number in the watch list than we have in total addresses because it's untapped potential for the token, but we don't see that here. Now that's pretty much it for CoinMarketCap. I'm not going to get into technicals. It's irrelevant for a fundamental analysis. Lunar Crush doesn't have KleeKai in their system, so there is no score for that. And you're going to see that there's a lot of things that bring the overall score for KleeKai down. That's one of them. But not having their team doxed, there's some big indicators here as far as doing your risk assessment. This is kind of a high risk investment. Now that we're done with everything, let's go take a look at how this one scored out. All right, as you can see, we've got an F to start with, but let's go through because there's a couple changes we may have to make as we go. Is the website visually appealing? It looks like every other website. Again, it's nothing special. I like the graphics that were on there, but it isn't necessarily unique. If you watched my review of Aleph Zero, that is a unique website. If you looked at SafeMoon's website, that's a unique website. It's actually got some of the same fundamental design aspects, but it still has some unique aspects in it. I didn't see any spelling issues. I didn't see any grammar. I didn't see any website errors. I did see one yesterday, so I've already changed that over. Is the team listed? No. Do they have a contact method? No. Now, technically, you could say Telegram and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. That's not the kind of contact that I'm looking for. A direct contact with the team, because if you get on Telegram or you get on some of these other things, how do you know you're talking with the team? Do they have a security audit? No, they don't. It's on the roadmap, but it's not actually there. You can't actually open up the audit. Is the price listed? No. They don't have a link to Dex Guru. They don't have any information for market cap. They don't have a how-to. They have a button. Now, for a brand new investor, that's not enough. If you've never used a swap, or if you don't even have a wallet yet, you need a how-to. What wallet do they need? What do they recommend? Do they recommend Coinbase wallet? Do they recommend Trust Wallet? What's the recommendation? Do they give options? How easy have you made it for the holder to buy your token? Right now, all you've given them is a button, which for the vast majority of holders out there that have tokens already, that's fine. For the ones that have never bought a token, it's not enough. And we've all been there. We've all been that new person trying to figure out how to buy. Remember what it was like to be that new person that couldn't figure out how to do the purchases. That's who the website needs to be built for. Whether it's videos or pictures or just a PowerPoint slide that you download that walks you through how to do it. I don't actually recommend that. You get my point. You make it as easy as possible to buy from your website, to understand how. If you open up a YouTube video, how do you know that the person is giving you information that's accurate? If you're a new investor, you might not even know all the risks that are out there. So make it as easy as you can to make sure that there's no issues with buying tokens. I gave them an 85. I want to say for Saitama, I gave them a 90. There's one other issue for KleeKai, so I gave 85. Is the roadmap there? Yes. Is it current? Yes. Is it unique? Yes-ish. I had to stretch a little to get unique. It's a lot like a lot of other tokens out there. Now they've included the NFT information and they're doing the gaming thing, which is a little bit different. So we'll go with unique. Were there any spelling issues or grammar issues on the roadmap? Nope, there definitely was not. Was the white paper present? Yes. Is it current? Yes. Is it unique? Yes. Spelling issues? No, but there is grammar issues. Is it a development team? No. No. And that's a lot of points. That's why we get to F so quick. Is there a professional team? The review on Twitter that I did indicates yes. It seems like it's a professional team. I didn't see anything that leads me to believe they're unprofessional in how they conduct themselves. But I also haven't watched this token for a long period of time. I might have missed things with my review. They had 1,300 posts on Twitter. I didn't go through all of them, but I went through enough of them to get an indication for how the team interacts with the community. What's their use case? They have a token? Yes. No blockchain, no NFTs currently. No wallet, no exchange. They do have a swap. They do have a game. Software, no. Country, no. And legal tender, no. Which, that's not that far off from most brand new tokens. Holder strength yesterday was 13,000. I think it was 14,000. It's not going to change the score. So I'm just going to leave it there. They don't have a Galaxy score because they're not on Lunar Crush. Dedicated YouTube channels, they don't have any. There was maybe one or two out there that I would say is more dedicated. They have some individuals that are putting out content for KleeKai, but there's not a lot. It's not like when you open up even Saitama, which is around the same time this one was launched, was Saitama, and they've got significantly more. So there's not that much of a YouTube channel, which means that they're not going to get those high numbers of holders that they would if they did have those influencers out there. They do have a Twitter. I didn't see a Discord. I couldn't find it. And their target audience, I gave them 10 because they are being unique in that they're targeting impoverished areas through games. And I think that's a unique aspect. There isn't as many out there that are doing that. Of course, I don't go through all 12,000 tokens, but of the ones that I've looked at, I haven't seen as many that have that target audience. So 10 points. But that gets them a 194 out of 568. And that's an F. So what does an F mean? An F means high risk. There's a high risk that this one's going to fizzle out. It's not going to go anywhere because they don't have a huge community. They don't have anything really pushing it. They don't have a strong YouTube community pushing videos and content out there. Their vision doesn't quite make a lot of sense with the current price for getting into the games. There's all these little things. It's just not a strong, cohesive project that seems like it'll go that far. That's not to say that it's not going to have a price increase, because obviously it's got a price increase. That's not to say this token won't do great. It's just got a lot of high-risk indicators that it may not go that far, or that it might have issues growing, or it might take it a long time to grow. Does that mean I wouldn't invest in it? No, I might. I'm not going to. I've got some other ones that are kind of like this one. So if you don't have one like this, maybe it's a good fit for you. Maybe you're a gamer and you like the idea of the games. Now, just to recap, F doesn't mean that this won't be a good project. that it won't someday be a big project that does all kinds of great things. It's more of an indicator of how likely that is to happen based off of where the project currently is. And I think it's got a lot of risks to it. I mean, let's take a look at if we changed a couple of things. Let's say the team identified who they are. That gives them to a D, which is that's kind of where SHIB was. Let's say they get posted on Galaxy Score and they've got a 55. That gets them to a C. These are the kinds of things where subjectivity comes in. There's nothing that stood out as this being a bad project. There's no indicators that say don't invest here. All the indicators just say it may not be as strong long-term initially. Nothing in the fundamental analysis is going to tell you whether it's going to get hacked or whether there's going to be some sort of a rug pull that hasn't been seen before, because it's supposed to be rug pull proof, so that shouldn't happen. There is one thing that I forgot to mention. They didn't have a token burn, and I think that's relevant. So their total supply of 100 quadrillion, most of it's intact. They haven't done a burn. That's a lot of tokens. Most 1 quadrillion tokens do a burn of almost 50%. They have 100 quadrillion tokens and haven't done a burn. That's a lot of tokens, and that should be something you consider as well. Hopefully you found this video helpful. I really do hope that this token does well. I think that there's room in the crypto space for tons of tokens. So even though it's getting F right now, I really do hope that this project does well. And if you're investing in it, I hope you get a lot of money out of it. Just keep in mind the fundamentals and how those are going to play out over time. I reviewed the comments, so make sure you leave any questions, comments, or suggestions in there, and I'll take a look at them. I'll put all the links that I referenced in the video in the description, so you can check there to link to this project. Just a reminder, if you found my content helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and turn on notifications so you get notified when I publish more content. It really does help the channel grow. Until next time, stay strong with those diamond hands.